Just north of Mount Chiliad lies the town of Paleto Bay. It's a relatively small town, but unlike its next-door neighbor Sandy Shores, Paleto seems to be doing just fine. But how? Paleto Bay is smaller than Sandy and further south. Well, as explained in the Sandy Shores video, Paleto Bay has a major factory, the Clucking Bell factory, which most of the residents probably work at. There are also numerous shops in the small town of Paleto, including a barber shop, a tattoo shop, a mechanic shop, and a gun store. Also, there seem to have been plans to build a car dealership next to the mechanic shop, but it was never completed. We know this was fully intentional by Rockstar, as it says on the billboard that it was supposed to come in 2008, but the game at the time of release took place in 2013. So why was this dealership never completed? Well, here is where we get into the many problems of Paleto Bay. It seems that the city planners of Paleto Bay didn't distribute business space and living space evenly. Lots of buildings in Paleto Bay are businesses, which is fine if you have the workforce to accommodate them, but Paleto just doesn't have that many homes to accommodate a growing population. There are 36 houses in Paleto Bay, some of which could barely be called as such due to the condition of them. Also, some of these houses are for sale, meaning that there are likely not any residents living inside of them currently. There clearly isn't enough homes to accommodate the people that would be working in these businesses. This essentially means that Paleto Bay has to rely on workers who live out of town to make the trip all the way north every day, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is not great either. This makes workers at the mercy of the weather, as if the weather is harsh, the workers likely will not show up or be late. This whole catastrophe of a situation is only occurring, however, because of poor city planning. The dealership that clearly isn't being finished should be turned into affordable apartments to allow for more residents. There is a small apartment complex located in Paleto Bay, but it maybe has a dozen rooms, not very much for a sprawling population. And the condition of these apartments are clearly not very good. There's not even water in the pool. Also, the plot of land that the dealership would be on is quite big, so it should be able to accommodate this just fine. We can already gather from this information that Paleto Bay already has essential problems that should have been changed a long time ago, or should never have been there to begin with. So what should Paleto Bay city officials done from the start? They should have played the tourism card much harder than they did. They have an advantage over Sandy as they also tried to do this, but over time just deteriorated and laid to waste. Paleto is right next to the ocean. Hotels should have been built, at least 2 or more. Development also should have went into the coastal side of town because as of now, there are not that many buildings on the coast. There are maybe a couple, and all of these buildings are in questionable conditions. Then there is the Paleto Forest, which is actually quite a beautiful place. There should have been more effort into advertising its national park and the Chiliad wilderness. And then after people take a visit there, maybe after taking a long hike, they could settle down for the night at a hotel in Paleto. They wouldn't go to Sandy, as Sandy is just a bit too far out of town from the Chiliad wilderness. Paleto Bay just makes more sense, and it has a nicer view. Local officials also should have marketed Mount Chiliad as part of the local lore as being the tallest mountain in the state of San Andreas, and try to encourage people to hike up it as well, with maybe some rewards. I also somewhat believe that the Clucking Bell factory hurt Paleto indirectly as it made it less visually appealing. Just imagine that you are on vacation somewhere at a remote northern town that is relatively small and see a big factory towering over the area. It just wouldn't look nice. And while there is also a small motel that is actually not that bad looking, with a very craftsman aesthetic to it just outside of Paleto, the infrastructure is just not there to support such a tourism-reliant business. So why don't city officials try to repair Paleto Bay's damaged image? Well, here's where we get into the illicit side of Paleto Bay. As previously mentioned, the Clucking Bell factory hurt Paleto's image as a small tourism town as any major factory would. But why was it made and put here in the first place? Well, we now know that a local cartel utilizes the Clucking Bell factory's image and location to smuggle drugs across San Andreas. It is unclear how long this operation has been going on, but we know that it is indeed here. And unfortunately, this cartel also likely has deep ties with local city officials to keep the factory up, as if it was demolished, there would be no cover for the cartel's smuggling work. It also helps the cartel that Paleto is very far from everything. Sandy Shores is already far from the city, and this is referenced many times in the game. After the mission friends reunited, Trevor takes a trip up to the Vinewood Hills, and Wade comments on how that's very far and how he has a cousin living there. But he talks about Los Santos as if it's such a far away place. Paleto is very far from everything, allowing for more underground operations to take place as federal officials are unlikely to investigate and monitor such a small, faraway town. This is highly likely to be the reason that Paleto is in the state that it is in currently. A similar situation to Sandy, only with more proof. If Paleto were to grow more and more, the population would rise and start to become less of a small town and more of a medium-sized tourist destination. This would lead city officials to monitor it more and just keep track of it more as a whole. So hopefully, as time passes and Vincent's investigation progresses, we may see the downfall of this cartel and the potential rise of Paleto Bay. Hopefully Vincent can work his way up the ladder to a higher agency like the FIB and crack down on the cartel and their operation. But only time will tell. Paleto Bay is a very strange place overall. It is one of the only places in the game that you can go to in a fully populated lobby and barely see anyone there because of its location, which basically sums up Paleto Bay as a whole. Which is also precisely the reason why I enjoy being in Paleto Bay, its desolation. I just wish there were more things to do in Paleto. There are many available businesses here, but no one, including myself, ever buys them because it is just too far away to use efficiently as a business. For something leisurely, then sure, fine. But for something that you have to go to every time you log on to GTA Online, it's just inconvenient. I think for a final update, or an update very near the end of GTA Online's lifespan, Paleto Bay should get a small makeover, with a coastal hotel, similar to a hotel you'd see in Miami on the beach. Rockstar could also use this opportunity to add fishing to the game, as Paleto is obviously equipped for it with this location. I do know that Red Dead Redemption 2 has a fishing mechanic, and it's pretty good. I, however, don't know how easy it would be to port over to GTA Online, but maybe Rockstar could make something like it. Also similar to Red Dead, they could maybe also add horses to the game, as strangely enough, there are horse crossing signs scattered around Blaine County. Sometimes you see them in different places, but they are indeed there, which kinda maybe leads me to believe that horses were meant to be in the game since day one. We obviously know that Rockstar is not a person to skimp out on cutting content, so we may never know. But it is definitely not too late to add horses. So next time you're in Paleto Bay, enjoy it a little bit, explore its environment, and learn more about the desolate town and its people. And hopefully, Rockstar starts to appreciate it a little bit more as well. And with that being said, thank you all for watching this video so much. I really do appreciate it, and thank you to my channel members as well. If you'd like to become a channel member and even get some unique perks, just hit the subscribe button and it will say join, and then click the join button to learn more details. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day and goodbye.